Hey, here we are today, and the question of the day, can ICE deport me if I have my permanent residence? Okay, so I'm going to answer that question for you today in my video because I know that there are lots of you who have asked me that question and you want to know the answer, and you also want to know how to protect yourself. I'm Carlene Penenzi, immigration attorney, and I'm here to help you. In this video, I'm going to explain exactly and under what circumstances a lawful permanent resident can be deported, what mistakes people are making without realizing it, and what rights you have if ICE shows up at your door. Now, this video is not to scare you, it's to empower you because knowledge is your best protection. So let's go. First of all, let me just review with you what is exactly a green card. What does it mean to have a green card? So, a green card, really, the legal permanent residence, gives you the right to live and work legally in the United States indefinitely. But remember that indefinitely is not the same as unconditionally. A green card does not make you a citizen. Okay, and that's very important that you remember that. You're still a citizen of your country of origin. And as long as you're not a citizen, the US government has the legal authority to take away your right to be here under certain circumstances, only certain circumstances. Okay, so think of it this way: the green card is like a VIP membership. You have all the privileges, but if you break certain rules, then they can ask you to leave. So what are the rules? And that's what we're going to look at, okay? So we're going to talk about the reasons a legal permanent resident can be deported under the law. And what law is that? That's the Immigration and Nationality Act, which defines the different categories of conduct that a person can have against the immigration laws. And if you have those conducts, you can be deported. For example, if you have a criminal conviction, and the most common one is if you have, for example, an aggravated felony in your record. This is where it gets a little complicated because the aggravated felony is very, very dangerous. If you're convicted of one of these, deportation is almost automatic and you have very few defenses. So what is that? What falls under the category of that? Well, you have drug trafficking, violent crimes with a sentence of 1 year or more, fraud, money laundering, child pornography, and these are just a few. Or crimes involving moral turpitude, for example, crimes involving dishonesty, immoral conduct, fraud, aggravated assault. If you have a conviction of this type, and you have, or if you have spent 5 years in prison or more, then you know you're going to have a problem. If you have a drug offense, except for 30 grams of marijuana or less, then you're okay. If you have domestic violence, okay, Violence Against Women Act, remember that from 1994? Well, this, if you have anything like domestic violence, stalking, violation of a protective order, all of these can cause deportation. So it doesn't have to be very, very serious. Sometimes a misdemeanor sometimes can have a huge immigration impact. For example, uh, if you have a plea deal and you didn't consult an attorney, then this can cause problems. Uh, Another thing that can cause a deportation if you have fraud in an application. Let's say that immigration discovers that you misrepresented yourself or misrepresented something in an application. You said something that was fraudulent. You said you were married and you weren't. Or you said you had a divorce and you didn't. And even if 15 years have passed, you can still get in trouble. Let's say, for example, another reason why you can get deported, you didn't maintain your residence properly in the United States. You're not living in the United States. Did you know that a green card is for living in the United States? If you spend most of your time outside of the country, they can say, well, you abandoned your residence. If you spend more than 6 months sometimes outside of the country, they can say, you know what, you abandoned your residence, therefore you have to give it up, or you can get deported. Remember that this is very important. If you're going to leave the United States for more than 6 months, you need to get a travel permit. The travel permit is very, very important because if you do not, on the way back to the United States, the CBP officer is going to stop you and say, hey, you've been out of the country for 6 months. What are you doing? So this is very, very, very important for your case. Now, the other thing too is that you have to remember that there are times when you can get deported if you have a public charge. Okay, if you have a public charge, that means that you're taking a lot of money from the government. You're taking a lot of money, or not necessarily money, but you're getting a lot of help from the government. So this too can cause you to have problems and you can get deported for that reason also. So what exactly is the deportation process for a legal permanent resident? Let's say the government says that you are deportable. What happens? What does ICE do? Does ICE just put you on a plane? No, it's not that simple. As a lawful permanent resident, you have the right to due process. The government must issue what is called a notice to appear. A notice to appear is just a summons to the immigration court. The document notifies you that the government wants to remove you from the United States, and it lists the reasons. You have the right to appear before the immigration judge. It's not a criminal court, it's an administrative court, but it is a court. And there's a judge and there's a trial attorney, and you have to present your defense. You have the right to hire an attorney. Although the government is not required to provide you with an attorney, it is your right to have legal representation. The government will hear your case and decide whether you are deportable or whether any form of relief is available to you. If the judge orders you deported, you have the right to appeal. First, you can appeal to the Board of Immigration Appeals and in some cases to the federal court. This process can take years, months, but during that time, depending on the circumstances, you may be free or you may be detained. Now, there's a remedy called cancellation of removal. It's for long-time permanent residents, residents who have been here for 7 years, um, and or they've been here for 10 years in the country. You may qualify for cancellation of removal. And cancellation of removal means that you have to show your history in the country. You have to talk about your family, show your family ties in the country, and show that your family would lose a lot if you were to be deported. Okay? Now, if ICE detains you, remember now that you do have certain rights. Okay? If ICE comes to your door, you have certain rights. Now, listen to me carefully, because this is the difference between staying here with your family or facing a very difficult deportation process. If ICE comes to your door, remain silent. You do not have to answer questions about your immigration status, when you were born, or how you entered the country. You can say, I'm exercising my right to remain silent, and I want to speak to a lawyer. Keep repeating this phrase as many times as you need to. Demand that ICE shows you a judicial warrant. You have the right to see a judicial warrant signed by the judge before letting ICE into your home. An ICE administrative warrant, one that is not signed by the judge, does not authorize them to enter your home without permission. The warrant must have your name, correct name and address, and they can slide it under the door. Okay? Don't sign anything without speaking to an attorney first. There are documents like Form 1826 that if you sign that form, you're giving up your right to see the judge. So remember now, be careful. Call an attorney, right? Even if the government doesn't provide an attorney for free, you have the right to make a phone call. Remember, try to keep the number of an attorney at home in case of anything. You can call your attorney. And also, you have the right to a bond hearing. Ask the judge. This means that you can ask the judge to release you while your case is pending. So if you have children, remember that if you're detained, you have to remember you have to take care of your children. So have somebody ahead of time designated to take care of your children if something happens, okay? You have to remember, try to protect yourself now. Don't wait until there's a problem to prepare. Okay, there are things that you can do today to protect yourself. And something that you can do is to get your citizenship. Apply for your citizenship. If you have been a resident for 5 years, or if you're married to a US citizen and you have been here for 3 years and you have all the requirements, that will help you. That will protect you. A US citizen cannot be deported. Okay. So if you're someone in your family's facing criminal charges and you are in a situation where you try to resolve your criminal issues before. Okay. This is what you should do. Try to resolve your criminal issues before anything happens to you. All right. That's very important. If you have if you've been here for 5 years, remember, try to apply for your citizenship. This is very important. If you travel a lot, remember, try to get your travel permit. This is very important. Don't leave the country without a travel permit. This is very, very important because immigration can come back to you and say, you know what, you abandoned your right to be a citizen. So I know we talked about a lot of things today, but you have to just remember one thing. The green card does not fully protect you from deportation. And that's why I'm encouraging you to apply for your citizenship. We can talk about the citizenship in our next live, in our next conversation that we have together, because that way I can tell you how to apply for your citizenship and what you need to do. But right now, I want you to remember that as a resident, you can be deported. And that's why I want you to take precautions. If you're going to travel, get your permit. If you can apply for your citizenship, do so. If you have a crime, or if you've committed a crime in the past and you don't know the status of that record, try to resolve that with an attorney. Try to get your record clean. So remember, all these things are important because as a resident, you are protected, but you're not 100% protected. Um, you can subscribe to our channel. We are here to help you. If you want us to review your case, if you want us to review your particular case, your individual case, we'd gladly do so. And we can help you. And just subscribe or send us a message, send us an email, and we can help you. See you soon.